I was subject to, extreme accusations and a persistent effort to delegitimize me as a candidate. So as a Palestinian in this institution, and I'm sure many people from similar backgrounds shared a lot of similar experiences, you will face, and I faced, disproportionate scrutiny. So I was subject to, extreme accusations and a persistent effort to delegitimize me as a candidate, or, make me seem as though I don't deserve to hold this position, or me holding this position would bring the institution to some kind of disrepute. I mentioned this previously that, there was a systematic smear campaign since the beginning of my presidency run relating to, alleged relations within my family or alleged views that I held, or, even going as far as warning people that if they ran with me that they'd have their visas suspended, or they'd be kicked out of the country or put on blacklists or prevented from having jobs. So it was a very serious concern throughout the campaign, and it very much tied into the idea of, even though it has become more and more prevalent, or more and more, or less stigmatized actually, to speak out about Palestine, there is still an element of, if you speak too much, or if you try to push the boundaries beyond what is considered acceptable currently, then there is this sense of fear and pushback and disproportionate scrutiny that I face, and that many people who held very similar views also faced. There was this idea of bringing the union into disrepute, or speaking about things that perhaps cross the boundaries of what are currently considered acceptable, not just in the union, but I presume around the country as well. So my overwhelming message is that fear is often a sign that your voice does actually matter. So any attempts to intimidate you or smear you or silence you rarely come from a position of strength. They often come from discomfort with the ideas that you present because they challenge the status quo. So I mentioned this before, throughout the campaign, I was subject to extreme accusations and coordinated attempts to delegitimize me as a candidate, with regards to whenever I spoke out about Palestinian speakers who came to the union and how they were censored, or when I spoke about my own personal views about the matter. Even though my campaign was not necessarily centered entirely around Palestine, that was still an area at which people were very willing to attack me on. So to those students who do feel afraid, speaking out will be uncomfortable and at times may come at a cost. But every time someone refuses to be silenced, it makes it easier for others to speak out too, right? Even if you don't reach the end goal yourself, every step forward you take is one less step someone after you needs to take. Progress has always relied on people who were willing to take these risks. And the only way you really begin to break the stigma around speaking out is to continue doing it yourself and to continue encouraging the people around you. My election should not be seen as an endpoint in any meaningful sense, nor as a claim that institutions like the union have become fully representative. But I think it reflects a broader shift in public opinion and consciousness, and a growing recognition that Palestinian voices can no longer be easily excluded from these influential spaces. I think, more importantly, for those of us in the diaspora, this carries a clear responsibility, right? We are often afforded platforms and protections that many of our family members back home don't have the luxury of access to. And so I strongly believe that we do have a duty to continue to represent them in places where they can access or in places where they cannot. And this feels especially urgent now, the so-called ceasefire. People have, their attention has been shifted away from very valuable conversations that should still be held because, they think that the problem has been solved when it really hasn't been. Conversations about Palestinian self-determination are still being held without Palestinians in the room, despite everything that has happened over the last 2.5 years.